So there's a marker for traumatic stress, by the way. One of the markers for traumatic stress is a phenomenon called derealization. And so if something happens to you and you can't believe it's happening, then that's a marker for the development of traumatic stress disorders. Now, it's not an invariable marker, but it's a pretty good marker. And so you're talking about a situation where you'd played a straight game and were in a straight game for 18 years. And then one of the most fundamental rules of the game was flipped. And not only with regards to swimming, and that's not nothing because you devoted your life to it, and so had your teammates, but also with regards to the locker room. Because, right, there's two things going on here. Not only are you competing against Lia Thomas, who now calls himself Lia and has his idiot acolytes going along with that, but there's the locker room issue too. So let's fast forward to the competition itself. Tell me about the locker room situation, and then also tell me about what it was like to compete that day.
I'll start by kind of filling you in on the competition. So that first day of competition was, I don't have any events that fall on this day. So this was a day that I didn't compete. But this was the 500 freestyle was one of the events, which was the event that Lia swam the first day. Again, being an event I didn't compete in, I got to sit on the side of the pool and watch this. And if you don't know how swimming works at this level, you swim in the morning, you have to swim prelims, but you have to qualify for finals to come back and swim again at night. So top 16, make it back and swim again. And so I'm watching prelims in the morning. And there's several heats, maybe 8 or so heats. And so this girl comes up next to me. She had just swam in one of the earlier heats. Her name is Reka. She swam for Virginia Tech. She's a 5th year. Because of COVID, we got an extra year of eligibility, to which she took. She was from Hungary. And she stayed in the U.S. I asked her, I was like, why did you take your 5th year? And she said, I've wanted to become an All-American. And so she was standing next to me. She was out of breath. Her heart rate was high. And she was watching the result board to see if she made top 16. And she realizes as the last heat dives in the water, which this is the heat that Lia is swimming in the morning, she realizes she's going to be right on the cusp of making it back. She watches Lia dominates, beats everyone in the water by seconds, which in swimming, even 1 second is a ton. But Lia beat everyone in the water by multiple seconds, body lengths. And these are Olympians. These are the most impressive female swimmers of all time. But again, beats everyone. Reka looks up to the result board and she realized she placed 17th. And I knew her relatively. I didn't know her well, but I knew her name. And we're standing next to each other and she grabs my hand, looks at me with tears coming down her face. And this is when my feelings shifted, because up until this point, I felt kind of mad, just confused. I felt mad that the NCAA, frustrated. They didn't see it how I saw it. But she grabbed my hand, tears rolling down her face. And she says, I just got beat by someone who didn't even have to try. And that's when my feelings shifted to heartbreak. Seeing how this affected her, knowing she put in the same work to a level that I did, knowing she stayed an extra year from her home country in Hungary in the States so she could achieve this goal, and she just had that stripped from her. And again, that's when it felt like I'd been punched in the gut. And so we come back that night, and of course, Lia Thomas swims to a national title, beating everyone. The time Lia went this year would have beat everyone in the country again. The time Lia went last year would have beat everyone in the country again this year by seconds. So Lia became the first male to win a national title on the women's side. That next day of competition, this was the day that Thomas and I competed against each other in the 200 freestyle. We both swam in the morning. We qualified top 8. We came back that evening, and we raced. And almost impossibly enough, we tied. So we went the exact same time down to the 100th of a second, which I won't say never happens in swimming, but that's rare, right? To touch the wall at the exact same time. And so we actually tied for 5th place. It wasn't a best time for either of us. I didn't perform my best, and Thomas, I can speculate. I like how you use that word. I can speculate in a minute about what I think. But we go behind the awards podium after our race, and the NCAA official looks at both Thomas and myself and says, "Great job. You guys tied. We don't really account for ties in terms of trophies. We only have one. So that trophy goes to Lia." And so I was, of course, taken aback by this. Not because I wanted the tangible trophy. I'm a 12-time All-American, so I have lots of those. But it was the principle of him outright looking at me as if it didn't matter and telling me that Lia got the trophy. And so I questioned
And so
him.
what was the justification? Yeah, exactly. What the hell's the justification for that decision?
I questioned him.
At minimum, you'd expect a coin toss or something
Absolutely.
like that to randomize it. So what the hell's going on there exactly?
And I asked exactly that. I said, why? I understand we tied. I understand there's one trophy, but why are you adamant on Thomas having this trophy? And he was not prepared to answer this. They hadn't been questioned. And when I say they, I mean the NCAA. They hadn't been questioned for anything they had done thus far. So he kind of stumbled on his words and said, "Oh, well, we're just doing this in chronological order." To which I pressed back again. Okay. I said, "What are you being chronological about?" Because we tied. And if you're referring to our names, I'm certain that G comes before T. So what are you being chronological about? To which he didn't have an answer. And he says back, "Well, Lia has to have the trophy for photos. You can pose with this one, but you'll have to give it back, and you go home empty-handed, and Lia takes the trophy home. We can eventually mail
so
you."
Lia has to have the trophy for photos. Okay, so that's the rationale.